Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Generic Garage. On today's episode, we're going to step away from the Ranger project for a little bit because, well, as the title says, I broke my 3D printer. So we're going to fix the 3D printer, and then I want to move on to another project involving ambient lighting for my TV. Stick around. Now I want to start off by saying that despite my breaking the 3D printer, I've actually had a lot of success printing things so far. So here's a few time lapses of some of the things that I've made. I printed some chain links for cable management. A filament roller guide to avoid filament debris from scraping off on the filament presence sensor. A camera mount for a Raspberry Pi camera. And some handles for a Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi enables me to record these small time lapses with a program called Octoprint, as well as allowing me to control and monitor the 3D print remotely. The only downside to this setup is that it removes the option to resume prints on power outages, such as during the week when we had all of that snow, and I lost a few prints during that time. If you've been following along with the 331 build for the Ranger, you've seen these parts pop up in these videos. They are pieces of a mock-up kit that will allow me to prototype new long tube headers once I get the new motor installed. The original kit is sold by a company called Ice Engine Works, but upon searching Thingiverse, it would appear that someone had taken the time to model up their own kit. I did the math, and it turns out that I'm able to print a full kit for about a quarter of the price of the Ice Engine Works set. AFR is a little delayed in shipping my 195cc heads, but I was able to find their exhaust port dimensions online, so I modeled up this adapter that'll allow me to bolt it to the head and then connect with one of these exhaust mock-up pieces. Just like that. Once I'm finished with a mock-up, I can go onto Summit and buy pre-bent exhaust tubes to whatever radii specified in these parts, and then I can weld them together according to the design. Now I'm not too worried about the appearance since I'm going to be painting and wrapping these headers, so I plan on using just regular steel instead of stainless steel, which will make this go a lot easier. Everything had been going really well with the 3D printer until a few weeks ago when I stumbled across Ivan Miranda's YouTube channel. I discovered his giant 3D printer and thought, well, this is just really cool. It would be awesome to be able to make massive prints. I could get into things like printing body kits, and then I could fiberglass over those and paint them. I purchased his plans, imported everything into SolidWorks, and made a few tweaks on some of the parts to suit my needs. There's a bunch of 3D printed components on this build that need to be very strong, so I figured I would print them out of ABS. This is an example of one of those parts. It's a small bed stop. So with that part printing so well, I started on another bigger piece of the printer, and I watched it for about an hour, deciding that it was going to be okay, and I went to sleep. And then I got up the next morning to check on the print, and I found this. Unfortunately, in my half-asleep mental state, I freaked out and unplugged everything, and that means that Octoprint did not render the time lapse, so I can't show you exactly what happened. I tried dissolving the ABS with acetone, but it was going to take way too long, and I wasn't sure that I could save the hot end anyways. But instead of replacing the hot end with a stock hot end from Creality, I ordered a Micro Swiss hot end as a small upgrade. I also had to order a new glass bed from Creality because the ABS had ground away the texture on the other glass bed. So let's get to work fixing that 3D printer. MicroSwiss has a really nice quick tutorial online for how to install their kit, so this was actually pretty easy. I don't think that I'm going to be printing with ABS anytime soon until I get an enclosure around a 3D printer. I believe that Mr. Miranda prints everything with PLA, and that should be strong enough for the printer. I just went overboard. So now that we're up and running again, I want to dive into that ambient lighting project for my TV. Let's go check that out. What you are seeing here is an ambient light kit I found on Amazon and installed on my 65-inch TV. While the colors look good and the lights are aligned correctly, there is one major flaw I was not able to ignore. On fast scene changes and fast color changes, the ambient lights lag behind, creating a distraction from what's happening on the screen. This setup works by splitting the HDMI signal from my computer and then analyzing the colors inside of a specific border width around the screen. Because there is processing time involved in creating the RGB LED strip signal from the HDMI source, there is just too much delay to keep up with what's going on. I searched around the web a bit and found a potential solution to this problem, but it comes at a cost. I use a PC to run my entertainment center, so it's not a big deal to me. But the solution I found will only work on a PC rather than any device that uses an HDMI cable. The new solution will utilize a small Arduino connected to my PC via a USB cable and a program called Prismatic. Prismatic will capture the screen of my PC, similar to how streamers are able to broadcast their screens. And instead of having a separate device like a Raspberry Pi process an HDMI signal and then convert the signal into RGB commands that are then sent to an Arduino that talks to the RGB strip, this other method will perform all of the analyzing and converting on my PC, and then send that information to the Arduino directly. The purpose of the Arduino is to simply act as a middleman between my PC and the RGB lights. Because my PC is so much faster than a Raspberry Pi or other small processing device that would have to interpret an HDMI signal, this should speed up the response time of the lights dramatically. A link to the YouTube video from which I got this solution is posted in the description below. this is hands down the best solution that I think I can find for this setup. It's so much faster. Everything that's on the screen is syncing up perfectly with the lights behind them. It's fast, it's instantaneous with those scene changes. It's a third of the cost of that one box that I found on Amazon, and it's just so much better. I am so pleased with it. I couldn't be happier. This is awesome. Well, everyone, that's gonna do it for today's episode. Thank y'all for checking out the video. If you like what you saw, leave me a comment. Give me some ideas for some projects to work on. Those heads from AFR should be here any day now, and as soon as they come in, I will put them on the motor, and we'll get that motor installed in the truck finally. Y'all have a great week. Take care. Bye.